Yeah, I think it started. Let me share my screen for a moment. Okay, it's not allowing to share anyway. Okay, hello guys. Welcome to Chennai TUG July 2024. This is our fourth or fifth session we are organizing today with some interesting topics by Aishwarya and Komal. So basically, another colleague was supposed to join because of some personal exigencies. He couldn't join. So yeah, that's it about. Uh, Here we have Aishwarya Sivakumar, who is a founder and director of Soft Help Education and Charitable Trust. So with that, she is impacting many disabled lives in the society. Uh, and I would like Aishwarya to introduce about her more.
Okay. Um, Hi everyone. I'm Aishwarya Sivakumar. So I'm the founder and CEO of Soft Help Education and Charitable Trust. I'm running this organization for last 17 years. Basically, we work towards the empowerment of visually impaired. I'm also coming up with an experience of like close to 15 years of experience in the IT industry with a blend of UI/UX, data visualization, data engineering, and automation. I'm also a public speaker. So that's it about me. Oh, to Komal.
Yeah, Komal has been an active member in Chennai TUGs as well as she is very much interested in data transformation, visualization, and analytics, and she worked for some global companies such as JP Morgan, General Mills, and we would like to hear you from you, Komal.
Okay, thank you for those words. But hi everyone, I'm Komal and I'm not doing anything great as Aishwarya. I'm just doing my day to day job and working for almost 9 years now in data and data analytics, data visualization. So I started my journey with more of data visualization piece, but I think now I'm moving more towards the pieces. And that's where I'm going to put my experience of how do we come from data to dashboard. Yep.
Okay, so uh, so that's today's agenda. We started with the session intro, and we can start with the session one, that is navigating the data to dashboard by Komal.
Mhm. I just share my screen.
Yeah.
Let me know once you can see it.
We can.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So yes, as I said, I'm working with Dubai Airports right now as a consultant, working in the forecasting and research and the consumer insights team. So I've been into data visualization and data is something that always fascinates me. Like there's a lot of things and understand the stories behind the data. So that's what I really like to do. I'm also passionate with communicating with the people around. So I also have an analytics community in Dubai under Product Me, and we get to a lot of like-minded people data space. I had also taken some Tableau workshops for people over the LinkedIn for almost 300 plus students at a very minimal cost, and it was a great experience to share my learnings across. So, as more I say, I think in the start of the journey, I was building dashboards, but over the time, I have been building solutions, and that's where the journey should be going. Like, we don't just want to build beautiful dashboards, but dashboards that could help people to solve some problems or to get some stories and navigate what they are trying to find out through it. That's just my life. I like to explore a lot. I travel a lot. I love adventures. I do a lot of road trips, and then all of that. When I find time, I'm doing data and dashboards. So this is just a short snippet of our community in Dubai. This is just some like-minded people who come together, talk about data, data analytics, and other spaces, and we just try to understand the data landscape in Dubai. So today, since it's just a short session, maybe of 15-20 minutes that I get to go through, I've just put a tight agenda here, and we are going to understand the data, some formatting elements of the chart. We'll try to understand how do we build it for the right audience. We'll understand the colors and themes and some dashboard design settings. So as you see, you'll always notice that we are always talking about dashboards, beautiful dashboards, what are the different UI steps to do it, and all of things. But as you say, like dashboards are the showstoppers, and that's why we are discussing all of those things. But there are a lot of things that follow before it. That is the discovery phase, the data phase, and you spend almost 80% of your time in understanding the problem, you're solving the problem, the data problems, and at the end is when you build the dashboards, although your dashboards is the thing that creates the impact to the end user. So we are going to look at how do we come to this journey, and we find those gaps and make the best use of the dashboards that we can build. So this is just a column bar chart that you see on the screen that is just put together. You'll find this when you try to create a chart in Tableau, it's just sorted in the descending order. So this is something that you're going to build if you are just uh, focusing on Tableau and the charts, and you're not thinking about what is the story, what is the audience, why are you even creating all of this. So we'll look at how do we advance this and how we could make this things better. So it's very important to know your audience. Everyone keeps tells, but then how? It's very important to understand who is your audience. It could be a store manager, it could be the director of the company, or is it a brand manager? Just go ahead and try to find out for whom are you building that dashboard. Try to understand what they do on daily basis. So like try to understand how they are going to use your dashboard, what insights they need out of the dashboard. Try to understand what are their needs and what they do on daily basis, as we said, like what are their functions, how we could make their life easy and better. Okay, and that's how what value we could provide to them out of our dashboard. So you could not build just one dashboard and you could give to all of these three people on the same data set and ask them to use the same. No, because you see, if there's a director, he doesn't want to have the detailed view. He maybe want to just look at the overall level, try to understand what is exactly happening, what are the trends at the higher level, versus a store or a brand manager is more interested in his store or his competitor against the other stores, or maybe the brands. So you need to design the solution or your dashboard according to your audience. So now if you think of the audience, that's when you start realizing, okay, that bar chart that we built earlier is not going to really help the way it was built and the way it was put. So just put some few fixes to the existing chart. We make it a horizontal bar chart so that it's easy to read. Everything fits in the space. Everything goes from left to right. You might be already familiar with this, that the user reads left to right, top to bottom. So you don't want column bar chart hanging out there in a dashboard. So how do we go further advancing this? You want to add more elements to this bar. What do we exactly do? So we go ahead and declutter the same chart that we saw earlier. So what we did First thing is remove grid lines. You'll see a lot of dashboards, everything is built perfect, but still there are a lot of grid lines lying there and creating a lot of disturbance. So try to remove those grid lines. Now we have hidden the field labels because we didn't need it. We have put the description in the title itself. Okay, we have shown the labels. We don't have the big numbers that we had earlier for labels, and we have the short numbers into a format that is needed, maybe just k here. And what is the labels that we have? So the titles that we have, the state that we are talking about, so that's something in a little black font, versus your labels are in a gray format, just to distinguish between and not put that much load on the chart, and maybe put some borders across it. And so this is very clean. Now it is sorted. I'm talking about California, which has the highest sales, and I've put it directly in the title itself, trying to get that attention rather than just putting maybe sales by states. It's better way to put that up. So these are some end user tips that I've learned throughout my journey, and I would like to let you know. So first things first, like not every solution has to be a dashboard. You always go with the aim like you want to build a dashboard, but that's not the case. Just think of what is the problem and what could be the solution. So the solution need not be a dashboard. It could just be a simple email alert which is sending the KPIs which is required for the business, or it could be a PowerPoint presentation which could be fetched from the dashboards. But yes, you need to understand what is it that the audience wants. Does the audience have time to go and check the entire dashboard, or put some filters and then try to find the insights, or is it something that they need straightforward? So accordingly you will be able to build a better solution which stays for a longer time than a dashboard that just shuts off after some time. So it's okay to let the audience have access to the data through the tables and cross tabs. So this is one another request that you'll always find people or your client asking for data in the Excel, and you're like, okay, I built a dashboard for you, and why do you want the same data in the Excel? But I would say give them that, and I think that's where the trust starts building. Once they know, okay, the dashboard is using the right data which is required, and they trust the data behind it, they start building views of on it. They're going to come back to your dashboard with a better trust. So just do it for them. Sometimes they just need this data for data validations that they might want to do, so give them option to switch between graph and table. This is also a good way to put your dashboards. So if you have all the graphs, sometimes you'll see that people are asking for the table, but then if you put all the tables, it just takes away the um, the motto of building a dashboard, that is you want quicker insights. So may as well give them a graph and table, so they have the insights from the graph, and whenever they want to have a look at the absolute accurate numbers, they could just switch it to a table and could have both the views. There's one more way that we could ease their life, is that teach them few things on the Tableau server, what things they could do across this. One of it is dashboard, like they could store the for themselves. If the person is from a particular country and he wants to view the data for only that country, he gets the dashboard filtered for his country, and he gets that view saved, and whenever he visits the dashboard, he is only looking at that particular country always, and he doesn't waste time on the filters. So as I said, train them on the dashboard. So you spend a lot of time on the dashboard, but then once you deliver the dashboard, you're not taking enough steps for making the user familiar with the dashboards and the way they should navigate your dashboard. So it is very important. If there are any some critical charts which are a little different, you want to make the user understand how to go through it, what is the understanding of those things, and if any changes are required, you could put that. Show them what is relevant. Use row level security. So this is one more way you could do it. Use row level security. So if that person wants to view a particular country, you do not show data for any other country, and do not increase the overhead of your dashboard or the user. So just stick to what is relevant to that user and don't confuse him enough. So you can embed this Tableau views in PowerPoint too. This is also very powerful feature that you can use. So you could embed your Tableau views. So if you have any reports going monthly, you could just embed this Tableau views in the PowerPoint, refresh it every month, and share the same PowerPoint presentation across. And your work is done. You don't have to build them every time. So going ahead, you also understand what colors you're going to use. You need to use the right colors. When I say right colors, if I'm talking about a blood bank, do I go and use a green color? Or just because I'm talking about a blood bank, do I want to make my entire dashboard red? No. So you need to think of these small things and choose appropriate colors for your dashboard. Right use, you could choose one color and go with the use of the same color for differential of attention that you would want in the dashboard. You need to use the right themes. So if I'm building for Walmart, I don't want to go all green using theme. If I want to build a dashboard for Amazon, I might just look at their logo and try to get their brand colors and use them. And also, when you're using brand colors, think of if those brand colors are something that you could use, or you may want to just avoid it. Suppose if I'm building a dashboard for Zomato and the brand color is mostly red, I don't want my dashboard to be red all over. So you need to give a thought to it and discuss these things with your client. So these are the color tips that I would quickly walk you through. So use color just to highlight, I would say, when you want to highlight a particular trend in your chart or want to highlight some spikes, you could use color. For most of everything else, maybe just keep it gray, and so that you don't throw away attention all over the dashboard. Don't use color for non-data elements. You might want to avoid the backgrounds which are, like very dazzy and has a lot of colors. You want to use the color only for the data wherever it is required. Use white space instead of dark borders. Yeah, you'll see there are a lot of borders around the charts which just take up the attention, so avoid that. Don't use traffic colors as main colors, red, yellow, green. You don't want to use those over the dashboard. You want to use that only for some attention points. Keep one primary color for your dashboard. You could use 2 to 3 secondary colors. And there is a lot of things, and as we talked about the brand colors, you don't want to use a red. You could have a custom palette for yourself, and check if anyone in the audience is user brand. So if like if the users are blind to that particular color, you want to use colors which are friendly, and it is accessible to everyone. So as we saw, there are a lot of attributes we could use to make better use of the dashboards. So you could use those attributes to your advantage and put in the chart. You could try to make your charts look more smooth, and you don't want to have them to take space. You could start highlighting a lot. Now you see that I'm using color to highlight California versus everything else stays gray, so that the user attention goes to the California. And similarly, as we talk about just one more example, like according to your audience, you just change your stories. Like if it's same me, that's the data that I'm talking about, but my bio across different social networking sites is different because the audience is different, and the story that I want to put is different. So you want to think about the audience again before building the dashboard which has the same data. Okay, show what they want to see. Now, in the dashboard building phase, it's always good to think over what best you could give them, but always think of what they want first and how you could give it in a more simpler way. So, understand if they want to look at the top five states, they want to look at the progress, you just highlight the top five states. If they want to look at the profit, you try to add the profit to it. Okay. So if I'm going to just talk about the sales, if I'm going to talk about the profits, it's not a complete story. So here what I've done is I've added sales and profit together. So now we are looking at the two aspects of the same product, or same for the same country for the same time. And now it's easy to compare and understand. So if the sales increase, how did my profit work, and so on. So it's very important to complete this story. Okay. Similarly, now I'm just pointing out the positives and negatives. But now, if I want to remove this color and make it better, I want to go for a version like this where I have everything about the profit, I'm talking about the sales. I'm not using red everywhere. I'm just highlighting where it is negative, positive, and this gives a better story which is required. Okay. So what happens after all this? Now you know, you had a lot, you have seen a lot of posts. Now you know how to build the dashboards, but still people are not using those dashboards. There are only few users using it, or there are no users at all. Users are still asking for data downloads. Users are reluctant to use the dashboard. There is same duplicate dashboards all over the organization across departments. People don't trust the data. So you'll see this problem everywhere happening at the end of your dashboard phases, and the dashboard just go away after a few months. No one is working on it. So what exactly went wrong here? That is what we are going to see, because we missed the discovery and the data phase, where we could have taken more time to understand the problem. What is their objective, what is the priority, what is the problem that the business is trying to solve, what is their pain points, what are the key things that I could solve for this client or this business, which could mean a lot, rather than just having a dashboard which has every single piece of data and KPI which is not really required. So, do you have a blueprint for this? So, I usually have a format which I follow through whenever I'm going through a new project or new solution building, and then it gets easy for me to go through the process. So, what we exactly do here is we try to understand what is the data story, that is, what is it that the client needs, what is the problem they are trying to solve, what is the analysis that we have to do. Then we look at, like, we just go ahead and write down all the questions that we could form for this analysis, or the questions that could help the client solve their problem. So once we know what are the questions we need to solve, we look at what are the observations, like what is the data needed to answer these questions. And then we look at how we could get all of this data together and build the dashboard or the solutions to answer those questions. And the last piece is we keep revisiting the solutions to understand if it is really fulfilling the expectations. Do we want to make any changes? Do we want to add some things? Or do we want to cut down on few things? Do we want to add some different things? So this is how you go ahead and build your story. The next piece is data. Once you understand the problem, then you go ahead, look at data. What is the data that you have? Where does your data resides? How can you prepare those data sets for yourself to for this analysis? Do you want to get all of that data together? Is it going to be a one-time analysis, or it's going to be a frequent thing? Then you might want to automate some stuff. How do you want to transform this, and all of this? So if you spend time on this phase, you are going to be in a better position to solve the business problems, or to answer what they are looking out for. So usually any data that you whichever data that you might get is usually data buckets. That is, you have the dimensions and measures as you see in Tableau. But if you go ahead, if you already know of dimension modeling, these are the few facts and dimensions that go across. So what is it in the dimensions? All of your dimensions could be categorized into any one of this. That is product, market, or time. Product is what are we talking about, the products that you're selling, maybe that's your product that you're talking about. Market is where are you selling it, across the country, region, cities, all of this is your market. And time is when, like, what time period are we doing this across? Is it year, month, daily, whatever? And facts is the measures, that is basically your sales, profit, losses, and all of those things. So if you put all of this data that you have in this buckets, you just segregate your data into this buckets, you will get all of your stories, all of your questions will be answered through this format that I have here. So you know what is your product, you try to find out where we are working across that product, what time frame, and you see what measures that you want to have a look at, and then you can start forming all the questions that you could answer using this format. And the last piece that we come across is the dashboard. So once you have the data ready and all of that stuff, and then you think of how do you want to build your dashboards. So you design them, you analyze your data, how do you want to put it, and you build the dashboard using all the functionalities that we spoke about earlier. So you just put it together, but there's also a format. You want to go from left to right, top to bottom. You want to put the most important information on the top, and the least could follow. You would want to have the filters on the top, the main filters. If there are more than 3 to 4 filters, you might want to have a box which closes and opens and keeps all of the rest filters. You want to have the data refresh date, which is the most important piece here. You don't want your client to come back to you every time asking when was the dashboard refresh. So this is how you could do it. But then what happens is once you know everything, you are too overwhelmed, and then you build something like that. So this is one more thing that you would want to avoid is don't put everything together. Now you know the stories, you know the audience, so segregate your stories for the different audiences. Segregate the stories again based on the different levels that you want to walk through, the different categories that you want to walk through, and you could have different tabs of the same dashboard and the user could navigate through it rather than having everything in one dashboard. So you would also want to avoid the long scrolls to your dashboard in a business setting. So this is what we looked at. So when we said we had only few users and no users, so what we are going to do is we are going to revisit the scope, the priorities. They could have changed. So you want to understand what has changed throughout this 6 months, and then you want to go back to your dashboard and add those things or remove few things which don't really matter now. Users asking for data downloads, we said we would give them those data downloads and check how we could give them some cross tabs, or we could also look at once we give them data downloads, what are they trying to do out of it. And once we understand that, we could revise our dashboard or the outcomes based on the usage of the person. Users reluctant to use the dashboard, again I said, like, you go ahead and try to understand what is the problem. Why are they not using the dashboard? Do I need to train them on the dashboard? Is it that they do not have access to particular data sets, and they do not have understanding of few things in the dashboard? I want to take particular sessions that I walk through the dashboard and I train the user to use the dashboard. Duplicate dashboards in the organization, you want to stop those silos, every department building the same thing. Rather get together, find one common goal, and you could invest your time in the better analysis rather than just building the same thing across. Don't trust the data. So what we do here is wireframe with real data sets. So when you build the wireframes, you want to avoid the dummy data. You might just take a real data of 100 to 200 rows and try to build the dashboard for the real data, so that the user is more focused and is understanding that you want to do the and you want to have the cross tabs. So this was more of it, and I think if you do all of these things, it's going to be a easy journey for you, and you would not just focus on the dashboard, but also that you're trying to make things simple for your client and building these things. So thank you. That was a quite marathon for me considering the timing, but I just tried to give back as much as I could put in here. So thank you for being a lovely audience. If you have any questions, you could reach out to me on LinkedIn, and that's my ID. Thank you, Shikant.
Thank you, Komal. That was informative.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so
over
much.
to you, Aishwarya.
Thank you so much, Komal, for this wonderful presentation. I think you have pretty much covered my presentation.
Okay.
So, audience might be wondering like why this is getting repeated, but I think a few things can be repeated and in a different way. So let me try to fast forward and finish off this presentation as well. I don't want to um, take a lot of time. So let me just quickly stop my video because I have a very terrible network connection today. So I'll just share my screen and I'll just switch off my video. Is that okay, Shrikant and Kumar?
Yeah, sure, sure. No issue.
Okay. Thank you so much. So let me quickly share my screen. So today I'll be walking you through the different types of UI UX dashboard design techniques that we typically follow in our real-time projects. So, as I have already given my introduction, I'll just quickly move on to the agenda. First, I'll be walking you through the importance of UI UX and what is the science behind the UI UX and what is that we typically do in terms of UI UX process, which pretty much Komal have already covered, but still I will cover my portion as well. And what are all the impact and benefits of using UI UX in the dashboard design. So dashboard is particularly means of communication. So dashboard presents information on a computer screen to help us monitor what's going on in our business, basically. So most dashboard fails to communicate efficiently and effectively, not because of inadequate technology, but because of the poorly designed information displays. So it is very much crucial to design a dashboards to tap into the tremendous power of visual perception to communicate rapidly and effectively, but only if we understand the visual perception and apply design principles and the practices that are aligned with the way people see and think. So that is where UI UX plays an important role in terms of designing, be it a web design or a mobile app or could be a dashboard as well. What is the science behind this UI UX? Do we really, why this is so important? How this is even connected with the human brain? So, intuitive UX is a marriage of science and creativity. So UI is user interface and UX is user experience, or not just for the pretty cool features that we see in the web pages or in the dashboard, but also to make sure we connect our human perception, the how our brain perceives things. So there is a lot of science behind it. So one such law is like cognitive psychology, we would say. So this is the foundation of intuitive UI UX. So this will typically covers like how human mind perceives, how it process information, how it is making decision, how it is remembering the experiences, etc. So when we design basis the principles from this cognitive psychology, it will help us to create interfaces that align with users' mental models. So there are many laws that are present for this cognitive psychology. You can Google it through, but we typically use two important law, which is a Higgs law. This is the time it takes for a person to take a decision. It is directly proportional to number of choices available. For example, you are going to a supermarket and there is an offer going on, and they keep 10 chocolates and they say like you can pick up two for free. So, and there is another section which has three chocolates and you can pick up two for free. So the time taken from the the from the first section, the number of chocolates are 10. It would be more when compared with the number of choices available, that is three for the section two. So that is why UI UX helps to simplify this decision making by reducing the choices and minimizing the cognitive load. And another law is the Miller's law. So for an average person, um, can hold up to 3 to 7 chunks of information in the working memory. So basically, by leveraging this principle, UIUX would help to break down the complex task into smaller, manageable steps. So, and again, it will improve the cognitive load, and it will be easier for any user to group the information and keeping it in the working memory. So minimizing the cognitive load is a key principle of the intuitive UI UX. Next is the Gestalt's principle. Again, we do have 4 5 types of laws in this. I uh, I took only two important laws, which is law of proximity. This will help. So basically, the Gestalt's principle is how a human perceives and organize the visual information. So when it comes to law of proximity, elements placed that are close to each other are perceived as groups and that are related. So you can use this law for to identify the relationships or to showcase the hierarchy and all. And for law of similarity, similar elements such as colors, size, shapes, all these will be considered as a group. So, for example, in we do conditional formatting. In that, all the red colors would denote the negative values. The green ones would typically talk about the positive side of it. So, the moment we see the red and green, our subconscious mind would typically group all these information, the red ones as a group and green ones as a group. So these two laws are very important when you are designing your dashboards. And I think Komal have already covered on the colors. So color influences human emotions and behavior. So we have to use colors strategically while designing our dashboard. The warm colors that are red and orange talks about the excitement, urgency, emergency, and all. So whatever the data that needs immediate attention can be given in red or orange. Um, and the cool colors such as blue and green will give you a soothing effort and calmness that talks about the positivity, trust, etc. So when you use the colors in the dashboard, you have to use it wisely so it doesn't confuse the users. So on the whole, intuitive design, with these principle, if we create interfaces that aligns with the user mental models, it will be very effective dashboard when the user receives it and read it from his standpoint. So when it is just a UI UX process that we typically use in, during your web design or a mobile app design, could be any design process. So first would be the user research. We have to understand the vision and what is their domain, what is their business that they are doing, what are their brands, what are their success metrics, and who are the customers, etc. And moving on to the insights, that is more of an understanding the customer. So we do conduct workshops, so, user persona interviews and derive task models and write user stories on top of it. And then we move it to the conceptualizing, where we create the mood boards. We take references and create wireframes. Basically bring a story for all the information that you have already gathered in the last two process and review it with the customer. Once the customer is happy with the wireframes, then we get into the visual design. So we call it as a prototyping. And again, we'll be getting the user feedback based on the demo that we have given, whether they do want us to refine our ideas and come back. And this can go for 2 3 iterations. And basically, they will freeze the requirements at this stage and sign it off for the development. So this is typically what we follow for the dashboard design. As I have already mentioned, we conduct user research and user persona interviews, gather requirements for the dashboards, prepare wireframes, demo visual designs, and then we start with the development. So there are 3 checkpoints before the development. This will help us to freeze the requirements. So when we go for the development, we'll not go for iterations after iterations. So what do we capture during the user research? It is, for an example, when we are talking about the customer, we want to understand about the customer, who is the customer, what is his age, demographics of the customer, what is his needs, and right from the starting his day, how is his attitude? Is he frustrated about the coffee machine that is there kept in his office, or what are all his goals? Scenario, what all the scenarios he wants to do, and what is that he wants to do while reading the dashboard. So there are a lot of factors, right from the coffee machine, right from traveling, everything will be captured during the user research. And we do have a user persona interview. So basically, we group the users. So for example, we have CXO level users who can use the dashboard, and director levels, manager levels, and team level. Based on these user groups, we conduct workshops for each and every user group and understand what is their need, what he wants to know, and what he wants to do, and what all the target users and what are all the user profiles. Under user profiles, we capture these information, the age, gender, what is their education, and what is the language that they would prefer. Are they really comfortable using a computer, and how is their web experiences? What is their domain expertise? So all these information would be captured under user profiles based on the roles, and what are all the priority tasks that they would typically do as soon as they reach office. So this plays an important role when it comes to dashboard designing. So based on these priorities, you would be able to keep the data, the KPIs. KPIs can be captured in such a way it aligns with the priorities of the task. And the user scenarios and the user stories would also be captured during this user in this insight phase. And when we gather requirements for the dashboard, these are all the typical set of questions that we ask the user. So, who are all the users for the application, and what is the purpose of the application? What is their need, and what is the objective of reading this dashboard, and what do they want to do after coming out of this dashboard, and what are all the filters they would need, how the navigation they would want to. So, from the bird's eye view, how they want to slice and dice the information, to what level they want to see the detailed drill downs. All these questions would be asked during this requirement gathering session for the dashboards. And if at all they have any frustration in the current dashboard, what is that they didn't like, and what is that they liked the most in the current dashboard, and how do they want to improvise it, and how can we make best use of the current dashboard itself. So all these would be captured under the requirement gathering session. As I have mentioned, once all these captured, we will be moving to the conceptualizing phase. The first thing we would do is coming up with a mood board. So you have a set of research that you have already done, and you know the attitude of the customer. You know what colors they like, what is that they want to see. So with all these information, you would be coming up with a mood board, which is typically a collection of visual elements. This will not be informative, but you will be getting inspirations from the internet. You might have seen a nice dashboard somewhere else, and you would want to capture those information or elements, and you want to add it to your dashboard. So such references can be added to your mood boards, and this can be done through any software. It is just a collage of images, and basically you think it's like a reference path. So the colors, the styles, all that can be added to the mood boards. Once that is done, we'll be coming up with the preparation of wireframes, which is very important stage. So this is where you have to again bring back all the science that we have learned in the earlier in the first few slides. So there are three types of memory. One is iconic memory, working memory, and the long-term memory. Iconic memory is like a keyboard memory buffer of a computer. So it will hold until it moves to the random access memory. So the moment you open a dashboard, what are all the numbers that it is able to capture, it will be like a you'll not be consciously reading the dashboard. It is just it will just flash it to your eyes, and these information would be captured in your iconic memory. So this numbers, it can be a colors or the group of bars or graphs that would get immediately captured in your mind at an extraordinary speed. So this is called the pre-attentive processing or form. So it plays a powerful role in a visual perception. So we have to intentionally design our dashboards so that we make best use of the iconic memory. Next is the working memory. We have seen it in the Miller's law. This is where the information resides during the conscious processing. So in it will stand only for few seconds, or it can last for few hours also. So it needs to be when we design our dashboard, we have to be particularly concerned with the working memory. So as it is limited in capacity and it is temporary, we can store only 3 to 7 chunks of information at a time in a working memory. So when the capacity is full, either it should move to the long-term memory or it should be forgotten. So this is the reason, as Komal said, you should not be keeping the scroll bar. So because when the information or belong together, it will immediately capture, but it is fragmented in multiple places or in the multiple dashboards. We tend to forget it um, because of the working memory can capture only few information. So user needs to remain within the eye span on a single dashboard. However, we can he can rapidly exchange information in and out of the working memory at a lightning speed. So basically, you have to be really conscious about placing your bar graphs or the important information as a smaller chunk so that it gets to the working memory and moves to the long-term memory at high speed. And now that we know what long-term memory would do, it stores information permanently. So all these important information from the iconic memory and the working memory would get stored in the long-term memory. So these are all the different types of memory. We have to be very clear about this while we design our wireframes. So this is something that Komal have already shown. It's just a sample dashboard layout. So all these KPIs on top would be captured using the iconic memory, and the panel 1 and 2, all these would be can be used to make best use of the working memory, and all the other least information can be captured either in the um, bottom of the page or to the right side of the page. These are all just 2 3 sample layouts that I have shown. And next we'll be moving on to the visual design, building a visual design for the wireframes that we have already created. So before this, we have to go to the customer and say, hey, this is the story that we are trying to build, and this is just a wireframe. Are you really okay about it? Only then we'll have to go to the prototype stage. And these are all the color palettes that we can use during our visual design. So it should not be flashy, as we have learned it in the color psychology. Should not be flashy, and each and every color has a meaning. So we have to be very mindful when we are creating this visual design. And there are guidelines that Komal have already covered. It is just, you should not be using shadows or gradients and three-dimensional graphs, and avoid using grid lines, and try to use only 3 to 5 categories when you're using a pie chart, because when you're going for like, more than five different categories, even the tiny details would get missed. So we have to be really careful about when we use these graphs. And this is the sample dashboard design that we have come up with. Just with using all these techniques that we have learned earlier, this is just a sample prototype that we have created for a sales analysis dashboard. Come to the last slide of this session. But after doing all these, what is the impact that we have seen during our projects? So basically, it help us to reduce the development waste, because right from the beginning, we are trying to empathize with the stakeholder and understand their needs, what is their objective, what are their goals, and right from the colors, graphs, and each and everything is getting reviewed and signed off by the customer. So going iteration after iteration during the development is very, very minimal. So it will help you to reduce the development waste. And we'll be teaching how we have to use this design. So basically, during this visual design phase, we'll be giving a demo to the customer. So that will typically show the mimic of the dynamic dashboard. So we'll be giving them a walkthrough of like how the dashboard should be read, like right from the journey, right from reading the KPIs, what are all the filters that you can use, and what are all the navigations, the interactions that can be done. So all these will be taught to the customer, and we'll be training them. And again, reducing it reduces the risk of building a wrong thing, because we are already freezing the requirement and getting the sign off. So the risk of building a wrong thing is very minimal. And of course, it increases the customer satisfaction, because even before the development stage, they would get to know what is the output they would be receiving it. And again, when they start adopting this kind of a dashboard, they did see a overall change in their revenue. And these are all the major impact that we can see after using or after incorporating UI UX design techniques and the design process in your data visualization. And that is all from my end. If you have any questions, you can either reach out to me in LinkedIn, or you can ask me right away if you have time. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, we have some time. We can take up some questions. And those were wonderful sessions, really. And I think that this will be very much helpful in our day-to-day activities. And for sure, this will enhance the visual of our robust content, I can say, altogether.
Thank you. Thanks
Yeah,
to Komal, because she has covered most of it.
yeah.
Sorry,
I
Komal,
was
I didn't know that we had a very good chemistry. So
yes. I was just thinking along like we should take these sessions together because we were just complementing each other's
yes,
work.
yes, true. Yeah. So over to the audience. Do we have any questions for Komal and for me?
So I have a couple of questions. So,
Okay.
which tool have you used to develop those visualizations?
So
So you have shown.
you want, sorry?
Okay, Komal or Aishwarya. So you have shown some charts in your in your PPTs, right? So did you
For
use
the
any
design.
tool for the designing Tableau or Power BI? Or,
So for the development, we did use Tableau, and for few clients,
okay.
it was Power BI. But for the designing, we used Adobe XD,
Mhm.
and we are also
And you,
using
Komal?
Figma these days. Yeah.
Yeah, I have used Tableau for the charts which were there in the presentation.
Okay. Then I have asked the right question. So how did you get this curved edges for those bars in Tableau?
See, there you are. So it's basically just dual axis that I've used, and I've used circle in one of the axis, and I've used bar in the other, and then just made it dual axis.
Mm,
So it overlays on basically a circle behind, but it looks like a round which comes on the top.
oh, that's a nice technique.
Okay. Because the size is very small, you will not observe it as a circle.
You don't have any direct option to create the soft edges, at least to have soft edges for the containers or the charts. That will be uh, looking.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think it's mostly in the UI UX designs that the products they have. It looks really good to have rounded bars and makes it look elegant. But
true,
in the dashboard,
true.
I don't see people use. Now they're just using it because it looks fancy and looks good.
because of the they have all this
Yeah, and then they give it
rounded
easy.
thing. Okay, I think we don't have any questions. I can stop the recording here.